Have you ever wondered why fast food workers won't eat at their own restaurants? 10 major burger chains have been lying to you about what's really in your food. And the employees who make it know exactly why you shouldn't eat it. Let's start with Chick-fil-A, the chain that built its reputation on chicken, but their chicken burgers hide secrets that would make a health inspector need therapy. Chick-fil-A wants you to believe their chicken sandwiches are made with premium, hand-breaded chicken. The reality? Their chicken arrives pre-marinated in industrial solutions and pre-breaded from processing facilities. The chicken came in bags already soaked in brine solution, revealed Jessica, a former Chick-fil-A manager from Georgia. We'd just pull it out and throw it in the fryer. Customers thought we were hand-breading fresh chicken, but it was all done at a factory weeks earlier. But here's where the deception gets truly disturbing. The pressure cooking that Chick-fil-A promotes is actually pressure frying in oil that gets reused for days. We'd filter the oil and keep using it until it turned dark brown, explained Marcus, a former cook from Texas. Your chicken sandwich was absorbing flavors from hundreds of previous sandwiches. The pickles aren't just pickles. They're soaked in a solution so acidic it can burn your skin. We had to wear gloves when handling the pickle juice because it would literally burn our hands, admitted Sarah, a former prep worker. Cross-contamination is routine when you're serving millions of sandwiches daily. I've seen people drop chicken on the floor and put it right back in the fryer, revealed a former employee from Florida. The oil was so hot, management said it would kill any bacteria. But here's what Chick-fil-A doesn't want you to know. Their own employees avoid eating the food they prepare. I worked there for 2 years and rarely ate the chicken, confessed a former crew trainer. Once you see how long it sits around and how the oil never gets changed, you lose your appetite fast. Next up is Burger King, where flame broiled apparently means artificially flavored to taste, like it was near a flame once. Burger King's entire marketing identity is built around flame broiling, but former employees reveal that the flame is more artificial than a reality TV show. The distinctive grill marks and smoky flavor come from liquid smoke and artificial flavoring, not actual flames. The flame broiler was basically a conveyor belt with some heat, explained Robert, a former Burger King cook from Ohio. The grill marks were painted on with liquid smoke solution. Customers thought they were getting authentic grilled flavor, but it was just processed meat with barbecue makeup. The Whopper arrives as frozen patties that spend more time in freezers than some people spend in college. We'd get boxes of Whopper patties that were so frozen they'd stick together like meat popsicles, revealed Lisa, a former manager from Arizona. The fresh vegetables are anything but fresh. The lettuce arrives pre-cut in bags and can sit in walk-in coolers for days. The lettuce would get slimy and brown around the edges, but we'd just pick off the worst pieces and use the rest, admitted Carlos, a former prep worker. Quality control becomes impossible during peak hours, when speed matters more than safety. During lunch rush, we'd have orders backed up for 20 minutes, described Maria, a former employee. Food safety went out the window. But the most telling sign? Burger King employees consistently avoid their own food. I never ate anything from the menu during my 2 years there, confessed a former shift manager. The smell of liquid smoke would make me nauseous. McDonald's built an empire on 100% beef promises, but apparently 100% doesn't mean what you think it means. McDonald's 100% beef claim is technically true, but it's 100% of the lowest grade beef legally allowed to be called meat. The beef patties came frozen in boxes that looked like they belonged in a science lab, revealed Jennifer, a former McDonald's manager from Texas. We'd get these gray, flat discs that had to be cooked from frozen. By the time they hit the grill, they looked more like hockey pucks than food. The patties are so heavily processed and filled with preservatives that they can sit in freezers for months without spoiling. We'd get shipments of patties that had been frozen since before some employees were hired, explained Marcus, a former cook from California. The speed of service creates additional quality compromises. During lunch rush, we'd have burgers sitting under heat lamps for 20 minutes, revealed Kevin, a former crew member. The patties would get so dry they'd crack, but we'd still serve them. Cross-contamination is routine when you're serving millions of burgers daily. I've seen people drop patties on the floor and put them right back on the grill, admitted a former employee from Florida. The 5-second rule became the 5-minute rule when management wasn't looking. But here's what McDonald's doesn't want you to know. Their own employees avoid eating the food they prepare. I worked there for 3 years and never ate a burger, revealed a former crew trainer. Once you see how it's really made, you lose your appetite fast. Wendys built their brand on fresh, never frozen beef. But former employees reveal that fresh is more of a marketing term than a food safety standard. While Wendy's beef may technically never be frozen, it arrives in refrigerated trucks after traveling hundreds of miles and sitting in processing facilities for days. Fresh meant it wasn't frozen, but it had been sitting around longer than most relationships, joked Michael, a former Wendy's manager from Michigan. The chili is made from hamburger meat that didn't sell as burgers. The chili was basically a way to use up old burger meat that was too old to serve as burgers but not old enough to throw away, revealed a former kitchen worker. We'd take patties that had been sitting around for hours, chop them up, and throw them in the chili pot. The square patties are formed using machines that can harbor bacteria if not cleaned properly. The patty forming machine was a nightmare to clean, revealed a former prep worker. All those corners and crevices where meat could get stuck and start growing things. The drive-through pressure creates additional compromises. When you have cars wrapped around the building, you don't have time to check if the meat looks right or smells right, admitted a former cook. You just grab a patty and throw it on the grill. But here's the most damning evidence. Wendy's own employees won't eat the fresh food they prepare. I stopped eating Wendy's burgers after my first week, revealed a former crew member. When you see how long that fresh meat actually sits around, you realize fresh is just a marketing word. Five Guys markets itself as a premium burger experience, but you're paying premium prices for the same food safety shortcuts as everyone else, just with more expensive packaging. The hand-cut fries create contamination opportunities. We'd cut potatoes in the same prep area where we handled raw meat, explained Rachel, a former worker from Maryland. The same knives, the same cutting boards, often without proper cleaning between tasks. The peanuts that Five Guys gives away for free create a contamination nightmare. Customers would grab peanuts with their hands, eat some, then grab more, described a former manager. Those same hands were now contaminating the peanut supply that other customers would eat. The premium pricing creates psychological pressure to use ingredients even when they're questionable. When you're charging $15 for a burger, you don't want to throw away ingredients that cost money, explained a former manager. The fry oil gets changed less frequently than you'd expect for a premium burger joint. The oil would get dark and start smoking, but we'd keep using it because changing oil during busy periods was a nightmare, admitted a former cook. But the most revealing detail? Five Guys employees consistently avoid eating at their own restaurant. I worked there for 18 months and maybe ate the food 3 times, confessed a former shift leader. When you're paying premium prices, you expect premium quality. What we were serving didn't match what we were charging. We've exposed 5 burger disasters, but the next 5 chains will shock you even more. These restaurants have turned burger preparation into science experiments that would make food scientists quit their jobs. Every time you order from these places, you're not just risking bad taste, you're risking your health and your faith in what a burger should actually be. If you want more restaurant industry exposés that chains don't want you to know about, hit that subscribe button right now. Because what's coming next will change how you think about fast food burgers forever. InNOut has achieved a cult following so devoted that customers refuse to acknowledge any quality issues. But behind the California mystique lies the same food safety challenges as every other chain. The secret menu creates operational chaos that compromises food safety. When customers order off the secret menu, it throws off our entire system, explained Jessica, a former InNOut employee from California. We'd have to improvise preparations that weren't part of our standard food safety protocols. The animal-style preparation involves cooking onions on the same grill as raw meat, creating cross-contamination opportunities. We'd cook onions right next to raw patties, and the juices would mix, revealed a former employee. Customers thought it was special preparation, but it was actually a food safety nightmare. The drive-through lines that wrap around buildings create pressure to work faster than food safety allows. When you have cars backed up for blocks, management pushes you to move faster, explained a former worker. Food safety takes time, and time is what we didn't have. The cult following creates a false sense of security that prevents customers from questioning food quality. People would drive hours for InNOut burgers and refuse to believe anything could be wrong with them, noted a former manager. Brand loyalty made customers blind to obvious problems. The limited geographic presence means less regulatory oversight than national chains face. We didn't have the same level of corporate oversight as McDonald's or Burger King, admitted a former district manager. Each location had more autonomy, which could be good or bad, depending on local management. The hand-cut fries that InNOut makes fresh daily sound appealing, but create their own problems. We'd cut potatoes in the same area where we prepped everything else, admitted a former employee. Cross-contamination was inevitable when you're doing everything in one small space. But here's the most telling revelation. Even in and out employees often avoid eating the food. The cult following was so strong that I felt guilty admitting I didn't eat there, confessed a former manager. But once you see behind the curtain, the mystique disappears fast. White Castle's sliders are designed to be eaten by the dozen, but former employees reveal that quantity over quality is a food safety disaster. The tiny patties are so thin and processed, they barely qualify as meat. The slider patties came frozen in sheets that we'd have to separate, revealed Tyler, a former White Castle cook from Ohio. They were so thin, you could almost see through them. We'd joke that they were meat-flavored paper. The onions that White Castle steams directly on top of the patties create a contamination mixing bowl. We'd dump chopped onions right on top of raw meat, revealed Carlos, a former prep worker. The onions would absorb all the grease and bacteria from the raw patties. Then we'd serve them as a special preparation. The speed of preparation makes proper food safety impossible. We'd have orders for 50 sliders that needed to be ready in 5 minutes, explained Jennifer, a former employee from Michigan. There was no time to check if meat was cooked properly or if surfaces were clean. The late-night crowd creates additional food safety challenges. After midnight, we'd have drunk customers ordering dozens of sliders, revealed a former night shift worker. Food safety standards dropped because customers weren't exactly discriminating, and management knew they wouldn't complain. The high-volume, low-price model means corners get cut everywhere. We'd cook hundreds of sliders at once on grills that rarely got properly cleaned, explained Amanda, a former manager from Illinois. The grease buildup was so thick, you could scrape it off with a spatula. The addictive quality that White Castle promotes is partly due to the high sodium and fat content needed to make such small, thin patties taste like anything. The sliders were basically salt and grease delivery systems, noted a former cook. Customers would eat a dozen because each one barely registered as food. But the most damning evidence comes from the employees themselves. I worked at White Castle for 3 years and never ate a single slider, confessed a former shift supervisor. Once you see how they're made and how fast we had to work, you lose any desire to eat them. Sonic's car hop service and retro atmosphere hide food safety practices that would make a 1950s health inspector travel back in time to shut them down. The drive-in format creates unique contamination challenges. Food would sit in cars for minutes while car hops delivered other orders, revealed Patricia, a former Sonic employee from Texas. Your burger might be getting cold and entering the bacterial danger zone before it even reached your car. The roller skating car hops create additional food safety risks. Skating while carrying food means more opportunities for spills and contamination, explained Robert, a former car hop from Oklahoma. I've seen trays of food hit the ground and get picked up and delivered because remaking orders would take too long. The outdoor service means food is exposed to weather, insects, and environmental contamination. During summer, flies would land on food while we were carrying it to cars, admitted Lisa, a former employee from Arizona. We'd just wave them away and keep going. The made-to-order system creates chaos during peak hours. When you have 50 cars in the lot all wanting custom orders, food safety becomes impossible, revealed a former manager. We'd have burgers sitting under heat lamps for 20 minutes while car hops delivered other orders. The ice cream machines that make Sonic's shakes are breeding grounds for bacteria when not properly maintained. The ice cream machines were a nightmare to clean, explained a former kitchen worker. All those tubes and connections where bacteria could hide. We were supposed to clean them daily, but during busy periods, we'd skip it. The retro atmosphere that customers love masks modern food safety problems. People were so charmed by the car hop service and the nostalgia that they didn't notice when food quality was poor, explained a former manager. The experience distracted from the actual food. But the most revealing insight comes from Sonic employees themselves. I worked there for 2 summers and never ordered food for myself, admitted a former car hop. When you see how chaotic the kitchen gets and how long food sits around, you bring your lunch from home. Hardees markets their thick burgers as premium, hand-formed patties. But former employees reveal that thick doesn't mean fresh or safe. The thick patties create unique food safety challenges because they take longer to cook through properly. We'd have these thick patties that looked done on the outside but were still raw in the middle, revealed Brandon, a former Hardees cook from North Carolina. Management would tell us to just keep them on the grill longer, but during rush hours, we didn't have time. The hand-formed claim is misleading at best. The patties came pre-formed and frozen in boxes, explained Amanda, a former manager from Tennessee. There was nothing hand-formed about them except maybe the machine that shaped them at the factory. The thicker patties require more precise temperature control to ensure they're cooked safely throughout. We were supposed to use thermometers to check internal temperature, but during busy periods, we'd just guess, admitted Carlos, a former cook. I've served burgers that were definitely undercooked because we didn't have time to check properly. The charbroiled flavor comes from artificial liquid smoke techniques. We'd spray the patties with liquid smoke solution to give them that grilled taste, revealed a former employee from Virginia. Customers thought they were getting real charbroiled flavor, but it was just chemicals. The breakfast to lunch transition creates additional contamination opportunities. We'd cook breakfast sausage and bacon on the same grills we used for burgers, explained a former worker. Your thick burger might taste like breakfast because it was cooked in sausage grease. The monster burgers with multiple patties create even more food safety risks. When you're stacking multiple thick patties, it's almost impossible to ensure they're all cooked properly, revealed a former cook. The middle patties would often be undercooked, but customers couldn't tell because of all the toppings. But the most damning evidence? Hardees employees consistently avoid eating the thick burgers they prepare. I worked there for over a year and never ate a thick burger, confessed a former shift leader. When you know how hard it is to cook them properly and how often we had to guess if they were done, you stick to the chicken sandwiches. Finally, we reach Jack in the Box, the chain that serves everything from burgers to tacos to egg rolls, proving that when you try to do everything, you often do nothing well. The massive menu creates food safety nightmares. We had to stock ingredients for burgers, tacos, chicken, breakfast, and Asian food all in the same kitchen, revealed Michael, a former Jack in the Box manager from California. Cross-contamination was inevitable when you're preparing that many different types of food in one small space. The 24-hour service means food safety standards drop during overnight shifts. After midnight, it was basically chaos, explained Sandra, a former night shift worker. Skeleton crews trying to prepare dozens of different menu items with no management oversight. The same fryers used for chicken are used for egg rolls. The same grills cook beef and chicken, and the same prep surfaces handle everything. We'd cook tacos right after cooking burgers on the same grill, admitted Carlos, a former cook. Your taco meat might taste like hamburger because it was cooked in hamburger grease. The drive-through pressure, combined with the massive menu, creates a perfect storm for food safety failures. When someone orders a burger, tacos, egg rolls, and a shake, you're using every piece of equipment in the kitchen, revealed a former manager. There's no time for proper cleaning between different food types. The tacos that Jack in the Box serves alongside burgers are particularly problematic. The taco meat came in bags and looked like dog food, revealed a former employee from Nevada. We'd heat it up in the same equipment used for burger ingredients, creating this weird fusion of contamination. The Jack's Munchie meals that combine multiple menu items create contamination cocktails. You'd have a burger that was cooked next to egg roll filling, fries that were fried in oil used for chicken, and a taco that was heated on the same surface as hash browns, explained a former employee. It was like a food safety nightmare buffet. The curly fries are often cooked in oil that's been used for multiple other items. The seasoning from the curly fries would get into the oil and contaminate everything else we cooked, revealed a former cook. Your burger might taste like curly fry seasoning because it was cooked in contaminated oil. But the most telling revelation comes from Jack in the Box employees themselves. I worked there for 18 months and never ate anything from the menu, confessed a former shift manager. When you see how everything is prepared in the same contaminated space, you lose your appetite fast. The other employees would joke that we were the only fast food workers who brought lunch from home every day. These 10 chains have turned burger preparation into a game of Russian roulette, except every chamber is loaded with disappointment, and some are loaded with bacteria. The employees who make your food have spoken, and their message is clear: they won't eat what they're paid to serve you. Think about that for a moment. The people who see the frozen patties thaw in dirty sinks, who watch the oil turn black and keep getting used, who know exactly how long that fresh meat has been sitting around. They bring lunch from home. They've seen behind the marketing curtain, past the golden arches and flame-broiled promises, beyond the fresh, never-frozen claims and premium pricing. And what they've discovered has killed their appetite for the very food they prepare every day. Your family deserves better than chemistry experiments disguised as comfort food. Better than artificial flavors masquerading as real ingredients. Better than food safety shortcuts hidden behind billion-dollar marketing campaigns. The truth isn't always appetizing, but it's always worth knowing. Because when the people who make your food won't eat it themselves, maybe it's time to ask why you should. If this investigation opened your eyes to what's really happening behind those drive-through windows, subscribe for more restaurant industry exposés that chains desperately don't want you to know. The truth about burgers isn't always satisfying, but your health is worth more than their profits.